of the rain water of the remaining hills and snow, it will meet to the ocean. जो हमारा सारा water है वो कहाँ मिलता है हमारा oceans पे. So today topic is back to the oceans. What happens to the water that rain and snow bring to the different regions of the earth? So where rainwater goes, where snow water goes, almost all land surfaces are above the level of the ocean. As we know, on the earth, all land surfaces are above the level of the ocean. Because the level of the land surfaces are more as compared to the level of ocean. So all lands are above, so land are above. So lands are above as compared to the level of ocean. So all land surfaces, they have greater height as compared to the level of ocean. So the all water, rainwater, snow water, so finally they goes to the ocean. So where it goes? Where this water goes into the ocean. So the rainwater, our rainwater and our snow, so rain and snow falling on the earth, so they will meet into the ocean. So these water will back to the ocean. And these can happen in many ways. जो भी हमारा रेन वाटर है और स्नो वाटर है, सारा का सारा वाटर हमारा कहाँ मिलता है? ओशियंस में. And these happens in many ways. Snow in the mountains melt into the water. As we know, in the mountains, suppose this is mountains and there is snow on the mountain, there is snow and it melts into the water. When this snow melts and it will convert into the water. And where this water goes? These water goes in the rivers. These water goes in the rivers or in the form of streams. So it will goes into the rivers. And some of the water that falls on the land as into the rivers. So on the mountain, suppose this is our mountains, and on the mountain there is snow. So it is our snow. So it will melt and it will convert into water. And where this water goes into these water goes into the rivers. So these water goes into the rivers. And where rainwater goes? Rainwater also goes in the form of rivers. And most of the rivers cover long distances on land and ultimately fall into the sea. So where these river water goes, river water go meet into the ocean. So finally it goes into the ocean. And so you have to remember the rainwater, snow, and the water of the mountains, and these ultimately go into the ocean. So these all goes into the oceans. So you have to remember all the rainwater, all these water goes into the ocean. So most of the rivers, so all firstly they will meet into the rivers, and these rivers will meet into the ocean. So all waters goes into the ocean. So this is our rainwater. So this is our rainwater, and they flows down in the form of streams and rivers. So the rainwater, they are flowing in the form of streams and rivers. The rainwater also fills up the lakes and ponds. So some rainwater goes into the river and some rainwater goes into the lakes and ponds. हमारे कुछ वाटर तो हमारा रिवर में चला जाता है और कुछ रेन वाटर जो है लेक्स में, झीलों में और पॉन्ड्स तालाब में चला जाता है. And some water get absorbed by the ground. Some water goes into the ground. So where rainwater, question is where rainwater goes. Where rainwater goes? First in the lakes. Second is ponds. And third is ground. Fourth is it goes into the rivers. So where rainwater goes? In the lakes, in the rivers, in the ponds. So where these rainwater goes? In the lakes, in the ground, in the ponds, in the rivers. So where these rainwater goes? These rainwater goes in the lakes, in the ponds. Also it goes into the ground and it also goes into the rivers. So where these rainwater goes? In the lakes, ponds and streams, and also it goes to the ground. When these rainwater goes into the ground, so these appear as groundwater. So when all rainwater goes into the ground and it become available to us in the form of groundwater. So in the ground there is water because of the rain and it is called groundwater. Open wells are fed by the groundwater. As we know, wells are fed by the groundwater. So in the wells there is groundwater. जो हम कुएं से पानी निकालते हैं वो कहाँ से आता है पानी? ग्राउंड वाटर से. So what is the groundwater? Is the source of many lakes as well, and it is also this groundwater which is drawn by hand pump or tubewell. So the water, when we draw with the help of hand pump and with the help of tubewell, this is our groundwater. So this is our groundwater. So the water drawn by the hand pump or tubewell, it is our groundwater. जो हैंड पंप और ट्यूबवेल से जो हम वाटर निकालते हैं, that is our groundwater. The more hand pumps or tubewells are used in an area, the deeper we have to dig to find these groundwater. So if in an area there are more hand pumps and there are more tubewells, the deeper we have to dig to find the groundwater. जितने ज़्यादा hand pump और tubewell use करेंगे, तो ग्राउंड वाटर का लेवल कम होता जाएगा और हमें ज्यादा नीचे तक जाना पड़ेगा ग्राउंड वाटर को ऑब्टेन करने के लिए. और इसकी वजह से हमारा ग्राउंड वाटर क्या हो रहा है? कम हो रहा है. इफ वी यूज मोर हैंड पंप्स एंड ट्यूबवेल्स, द ग्राउंड वाटर इज गोइंग डाउन. So the groundwater is going down because of more hand pumps and tubewells. Now next is Paheli wants to share a concern with you. So Paheli wants to share a concern with you in those areas where the land has has little or no vegetation. So Paheli wants to share a problem. And what is that problem? Suppose in an area when land has little or no vegetation. Suppose in the land there is a small vegetation, the rainwater flows away quickly. So suppose in that area the rainwater flows more quickly. And flowing water, सपोज करो कि एक ऐसा एरिया है जहां पे बिल्कुल कम वेजिटेशन होती है और रेन वाटर बहुत जल्दी फ्लो करता है. जब रेन वाटर जल्दी फ्लो करेगा तो जो टॉप मोस्ट लेयर है सोइल की उसको रिमूव कर देगा. अगर टॉप मोस्ट लेयर अगर रिमूव हो जाएगी तो सोइल की फर्टिलिटी क्या हो जाएगी? डिक्रीज. सो फ्लोइंग रेन वाटर also takes the top layer of the soil away with it. So there are few areas where most of the land is covered with concrete. कुछ लैंड हमारी क्या है? बिल्कुल कॉन्क्रीट पत्थर है, वहां पे ईंटें हैं, वहां पे most of the land is covered with concrete. So these will reduce the seepage of rainwater into the ground, which ultimately affects the availability of groundwater. So, suppose in that area, when the land is covered with concrete, so because of these concrete, they will not absorb the rainwater. And if they will not absorb the rainwater, it affects the availability of groundwater. सपोज एक एरिया है जहां पे बिल्कुल लैंड जो है कंक्रीट से कवर है, पत्थर से कवर है, तो वो ग्राउंड वाटर को एब्जॉर्ब नहीं करेगा, रेन वाटर को एब्जॉर्ब नहीं करेगा और वो ग्राउंड में पानी नहीं जाएगा. और ग्राउंड में पानी नहीं जाएगा तो ग्राउंड वाटर जो लेवल है वो डिक्रीज हो जाएगा. सो यू हैव टू रिमेम्बर the ground water level is affected by the concrete land. So you have to remember, if in an area there is small vegetation and rainwater flows quickly, and because of these rainwater, topmost layer is removed. If topmost layer is removed, then fertility of the soil is decreased. So which affects the groundwater? The concrete land. The concrete land affects the availability of groundwater. So next is, we know that water brought back to the surface of the earth by rain or hail or snow or goes back to the ocean. So thus, as we know, when water comes back in the form of rain, in the form of hail, or in the form of snow, and where these water goes into the ocean. And thus water from the ocean and surface of the earth, when suppose there is ocean and these water goes into the air as the form of water vapor and with the help of evaporation, and then they returns back in the form of rain, hail and snow, and then it finally goes into the ocean. And this circulation of water is known as water cycle. So what do you mean by water cycle? So you remember the definition of water cycle: the circulation of water between ocean and land is called water cycle. So the circulation of water between ocean and land is called water cycle. So how this water cycle goes on? Suppose it is our ocean. Suppose it is our ocean where water is present, and then due to heat, this water goes into the air in the form of water vapor. In the form of water vapor by the process of evaporation. So by the process of evaporation, this water goes into the air, and then this water vapor condenses and become water droplets. Then they become clouds in the form of droplets, and these clouds come back to the earth's surface, in the form of rain, hail, or snow. And then finally this water goes into the ocean. And this whole circulation of water is known as water cycle. So this circulation of water between ocean and land is called water cycle. So I will show the water cycle. So what do you mean by water cycle? I will show the water cycle diagram. So this is our water cycle diagram. So suppose there is water, and when this water evaporates due to heat, so these will convert into the water vapor. And due to when these will convert into the water vapor, these are converting into the water vapor. And then due to condensation, this water vapor is converted, and due to evaporation, this evaporation, this water goes into air and the form of water vapor. So this water goes into the air in the form of water vapor. And when these water vapor converts into tiny drops of water, and these tiny drops of water is called our clouds. And when these clouds become heavy, they will go into the ground in the form of rain. And where these rainwater goes? These rainwater goes into the ocean. So where these rainwater goes? These rainwater goes into the ocean. So this is our water cycle. So you have to draw the diagram of water cycle in the fair notebook. So you have to draw the diagram of water cycle in the fair notebook. So this is the ground, there is the ocean water, and suppose this water goes into the air, these will convert into the water vapor. So this water is converting into water vapor by the process of evaporation. And जो सारा का सारा पानी है वो water vapor में convert हो रहा है, and this process is called evaporation. And then these water, ये water vapor फिर किसमें convert हो रहे हैं? Tiny drops of water में convert हो रहे हैं, and they form clouds. And this process is called condensation. जब ये cloud heavy हो जाते हैं तो ये rain की form में दोबारा यहाँ आ जाते हैं ground पे, और finally this water goes into the ocean. So this water goes into the ocean. So this circulation of water is known as water cycle. So there is also another diagram of water cycle. You can draw only one diagram. So this is our ocean. All water goes into the air because of evaporation, and they form clouds. And due to condensation, when they become heavy, they goes into the rivers, and finally they will meet into the ocean. So this is our water cycle. So you have to draw the diagram of water cycle in the fair notebook. Again, I am repeating, back to the ocean. So all rainwater and all snow, where it goes, so that these rainwater and these snow water, they will meet into the ocean. So where these water goes, they will meet into the ocean. And how they will meet into the ocean? Suppose in the mountains, suppose it is our mountain, and on the mountain there is snow, and when these snow melts and these converts into the water, and where these water goes, these water goes into the ocean. So where these water goes, these water goes into the ocean in the form of rain. Also it flows in the form of rivers. Firstly, these snow melts and it will convert into the water. Firstly, they will goes into the rivers, and then it goes into the ocean. So finally, this water goes into the ocean. And next is where rainwater goes. So rainwater goes into where rainwater goes in the lakes, in the ponds, also in the ground. And also it goes into the rivers. So it also goes into the rivers. जो रेन वाटर है हमारा कहाँ कहाँ जाता है, लेक्स में, rivers में, and into the ground. And this water is known as groundwater. So this water is known as groundwater. And when these are absorbed by the air, so these groundwater, suppose there is water on the ground and it is goes into the air with the help of evaporation or transpiration. With the help of evaporation or transpiration से जो पानी है हमारा water vapor की form में हमारा environment में जाएगा, and these water vapor forms clouds, and then they finally come into the groundwater. So what is the importance of how groundwater is obtained? Groundwater is obtained by the hand pump or tubal. So how groundwater is obtained? Groundwater is obtained by the hand pump or the tubal. If we use more hand pumps and tubals in an area, you have to dig more. जितने ज्यादा हैंड पंप होंगे, जितने ज्यादा ट्यूबवेल होंगे, हमें ज्यादा नीचे तक जाना पड़ेगा to obtain groundwater. So Paheli want to discuss a problem with you. And what is the problem? So suppose in an area the land has no vegetation or little vegetation. Why there is no little vegetation? Because in that area rainwater flows away quickly. So the rainwater flows away quickly. And when this rainwater goes, it carries soil with the rainwater. जब ये rainwater flow करता है, इसके साथ हमारी soil भी जाती है, और topmost layer is removed by these rainwater, and fertility of the soil is decreased. So next is flowing rainwater also takes the top layer of the soil. So suppose if a land, if it is covered with concrete, so if a land is covered with concrete, जो हमारी जो land है mostly इसमें हमारे क्या है, पत्थर से cover है, और जो concrete ईंटों से cover है, तो ये ground water को absorb नहीं करती, इसलिए there is a shortage of ground water due to concrete land. So next is, we know that water back to the surface. So as we know, when there is surface of water and all water goes into the earth surface in the form of rain, it goes into in the form of rain, in the form of hail or snow. And finally, it goes into the ocean. finally it goes into the ocean. So all water goes into the ocean. And the circulation of water between ocean and land is called water cycle. So the circulation of water between ocean and land, it is called our water cycle. So next topic is, what if it rains heavily? Suppose किसी एरिया में बहुत ज्यादा बारिश होती है, तो what will happen? The time, duration and the amount of rainfall varies from place to place. As we know, in India, so there are some places in which it rains heavily, and in some areas there is a shortage of rain. In some parts of the world, it rains throughout the year, while there are places where it rains only for a few days. So in the world, there are areas in which rains goes throughout the air. Rain goes throughout the air. But in some areas, the rains goes only for a few days. In some areas, it rains throughout the year, and in some areas, it rains goes only for few days. So the amount of rainfall, amount of rainfall depends? The amount of rainfall depends place to place. So the amount of rainfall, it depends on place to place. In some areas, there is a little amount of air, and so in some areas, there is excess of rain. So next is, in our country, most of the rainfall occurs during the monsoon season. As we know, in our country, when rain comes during the monsoon season, when monsoon season comes, the rainfall comes. Rains bring relief, especially after hot summer days. Suppose there is very hot days, and after these summer days, these rains come, and these rain bring relief. So these rain bring relief. जब बहुत ज्यादा गर्मी हो जाती है, अगर बारिश होती है, तो these rains bring relief. And the sowing of many crops depends on the arrival of monsoon. So when we grow different type of crops, and it depends on the season. So these crops depends on the season. However, excess of rainfall may lead to many problems. When in an area there is excess of rainfall, and because of these excess of rainfall, they lead to many problems.